For 27 nights, 6-year-old Lucia Moretti refused to sleep in her own bed. She never cried. She never screamed. Every night, at exactly 3:07 a.m., she quietly climbed down from her bed, walked to the bedroom door, and whispered 5 words. "She's waiting outside again, Daddy." The first time it happened, Don Vincent Moretti thought it was a nightmare. The second time, he blamed the stress of losing Lucia's mother 2 years earlier. By the 10th night, he had doubled the mansion's security, installed new cameras in every hallway, and ordered his men to search every inch of the estate. Nothing. No intruder. No footprints. No alarms. The cameras showed only a little girl opening her bedroom door, staring into the empty hallway for exactly 43 seconds, then returning to bed without another word. On the 27th night, Vincent stopped believing in coincidence. He was feared across New York. Rival families spoke his name carefully. Federal investigators had spent 15 years trying to put him behind bars. He had survived drive-by shootings, poison attempts, betrayals, and wars that left entire crime families erased from the map. None of them frightened him. Watching his daughter speak to an empty hallway did. "Who is she?" he asked softly one morning over breakfast. Lucia looked up from her cereal. "The nice lady." "What lady?" "The one who smiles when you leave." Vincent's spoon stopped halfway to his mouth. "Where does she stand?" Lucia pointed toward the second-floor hallway. "Right beside Mommy's painting." Every muscle in Vincent's body tightened. The portrait of his late wife hung alone at the end of the corridor. No servant cleaned that hallway after midnight. No guard entered the family wing without permission. Yet his daughter described the exact place where she claimed the mysterious woman waited every night. By noon, the hallway had been searched again. The painting was removed. The wall behind it was scanned. The floorboards were lifted. Even the air conditioning vents were opened. Nothing. His head of security, Dominic Russo, folded his arms. "Boss, she's 6. Children imagine things." Vincent didn't answer. He simply looked toward the hallway, then back at his daughter. She wasn't afraid. That was the strangest part. She looked comforted, as though whoever visited her wasn't trying to hurt her. That evening, Vincent hired someone outside the organization for the first time in years. Emma Carter, 28 years old, former pediatric trauma nurse, recommended by one of the few judges Vincent still trusted. Emma accepted the position without asking why a mafia family needed a live-in nanny. She only asked one question: "Has anyone believed the child?" Silence filled the dining room. Vincent finally answered, "I want to, but belief isn't evidence." Emma nodded. "Sometimes evidence begins with believing." That night, she stayed awake in the armchair beside Lucia's bed. The mansion settled into silence. Guards rotated outside. Security monitors glowed downstairs. The grandfather clock struck 3. 3:03, 3:04, 3:05. Emma checked the baby monitor. Lucia was asleep. At exactly 3:07 a.m., every light in the bedroom flickered once. Not enough to go out. Just enough to make Emma glance toward the ceiling. When she looked back, Lucia was sitting upright, eyes still closed. She whispered into the darkness, "You came back." Emma slowly turned toward the bedroom door. No one. The hallway beyond was empty. Then Lucia smiled. Not the nervous smile of a frightened child. The warm smile of someone greeting an old friend. "She says Daddy forgot." Emma leaned closer. "Forgot what?" Lucia answered without opening her eyes. "The key." Emma frowned. "What key?" Lucia tilted her head, listening. Then she whispered one final sentence. "The one hidden under the black stone." At that exact moment, a loud crash echoed somewhere beneath the mansion. The sound rolled through the mansion like distant thunder. Not loud enough to wake the entire household, but loud enough for Emma to be certain it hadn't come from the bedroom. Lucia's eyes opened. She looked directly at Emma for the first time that night. "She doesn't like loud noises," the little girl whispered. "Who doesn't?" "The lady." Emma glanced toward the hallway again, still empty. She reached for the bedside radio clipped to her belt. "Dominic, this is Emma. Did anyone hear that?" Static answered first. Then Dominic's voice came through. "I heard it. Basement level. Stay with the child." Emma looked back at Lucia. The little girl was no longer staring at the doorway. Instead, she was looking at the old family portrait hanging above the fireplace. "No," Lucia murmured. "She's gone now." Before Emma could ask another question, Vincent burst into the room. He wasn't wearing the tailored suit that made newspapers compare him to a billionaire executive. He wore dark sweatpants, a black t-shirt, and carried a pistol already drawn. His eyes immediately searched every corner of the bedroom. "Are you both all right?" Emma nodded. "We heard the noise." Vincent knelt beside Lucia. What happened? Lucia wrapped her tiny arms around his neck. The lady left. Did she say anything? Lucia hesitated. Then she whispered into his ear. She said someone found the key. Vincent slowly stood. His expression changed. Emma noticed it instantly. It wasn't fear. It was recognition. You've heard that before, she said quietly. Vincent didn't answer. Instead, he turned toward Dominic, who had just entered the room with 2 armed guards. What happened downstairs? Dominic looked uneasy. The wine cellar. What about it? One of the old storage shelves collapsed. Vincent frowned. Collapsed? It looks that way. But, Dominic paused. There are footprints. Everyone became still. What kind of footprints? Vincent asked. Bare feet. Emma blinked. Bare feet? Dominic nodded. They start near the broken shelf and disappear halfway across the floor. Vincent didn't wait another second. Take me there. Emma instinctively started to follow. Vincent stopped her. Stay with Lucia. Emma looked toward the hallway. I'll be more useful downstairs. Lucia suddenly grabbed Emma's sleeve. No. Emma looked down. The little girl's face had turned pale. If you leave, she'll be alone. Who's alone? The lady. The words lingered in the room long after Lucia stopped speaking. Vincent finally made the decision. Dominic. Yes, boss. Search every inch of the basement. No one leaves this property. Within seconds, the mansion came alive. Security teams spread through the estate. Exterior gates locked automatically. Thermal drones lifted into the night sky. Every vehicle entering or leaving the property was stopped. Emma watched from Lucia's bedroom window as dozens of armed men moved silently across the grounds. Anyone watching from outside would have thought the Moretti family was preparing for war. Yet the enemy might already have been inside. Nearly 40 minutes passed before Dominic returned. His expression told Vincent the news wasn't good. The footprints are real, but we couldn't match them to anyone in the house. What about security footage? Dominic shook his head. That's the strange part. The basement cameras all stopped recording. Vincent's jaw tightened. For how long? 93 seconds. Emma slowly turned toward him. 93? Dominic nodded. Exactly. Emma felt a chill crawl across her arms. That's impossible. Vincent looked at her. Why? Because? She walked toward the bedside clock. When Lucia woke up, from the moment the lights flickered until the crash, exactly 93 seconds passed. Silence filled the room. Neither Dominic nor Vincent spoke. Emma continued thinking aloud. The cameras failed. Lucia began talking. The noise happened, and the cameras restarted. All within the exact same amount of time. Dominic frowned. You think someone hacked the system? I think someone knew precisely when those cameras would be blind. Vincent looked toward the dark hallway outside Lucia's room. For 27 nights, someone has been waiting for 307. Emma nodded. And tonight, something changed. Just then, one of Vincent's senior guards hurried upstairs. Boss? What is it? We found something under the collapsed shelf. Vincent's eyes narrowed. What? The guard swallowed. A small iron box. It's locked. Emma noticed Lucia staring toward the bedroom door again. This time, the little girl smiled sadly. Then she whispered so softly that only Emma heard her. She says, "Don't let Uncle Michael open it." Vincent froze. The room became completely silent. Even the guard standing outside the door stopped moving. Slowly, Vincent turned his head toward Lucia. What did you say? The little girl looked confused. I didn't say anything. Emma felt a cold sensation move through her chest. Lucia. She knelt beside the child. Who did you say shouldn't open the box? Lucia looked at her innocent face. Uncle Michael. Nobody spoke. But Emma immediately noticed something. Vincent's reaction was different from before. When Lucia mentioned the mysterious woman, he looked skeptical. When she mentioned the key, he looked confused. But now he looked like someone who had just heard a name from a nightmare he thought was buried years ago. Who is Michael? Emma asked. Vincent didn't answer. Dominic looked away. That was enough. Emma noticed. Someone needs to explain. Vincent walked toward the window, his back facing everyone. Michael Moretti was my older brother. Was? Vincent remained silent for several seconds. He's dead. Lucia looked up. No. Her voice was quiet. Everyone turned toward her. No? The child shook her head. Mommy said he wasn't gone. The air in the room seemed to disappear. Vincent slowly walked back toward his daughter. Lucia, where did you hear that? The little girl pointed toward the portrait of her mother. Mommy told me. Emma followed her finger. The portrait. Again. Always the portrait. Something about that painting was connected to everything. Vincent noticed it too. Without saying another word, he walked toward the wall. The same wall where Lucia claimed the woman stood every night. He stared at the portrait of his late wife, Isabella Moretti. For years, that painting had been the most protected object in the entire mansion. Not because it was valuable, because it was the last thing he had left of her. Isabella had died in a car accident 2 years earlier. At least, that was the official story. Emma watched Vincent carefully. Your brother and your wife knew each other? Vincent's eyes remained fixed on the painting. Everyone in my family knew each other. That's not what I asked. A long silence followed. Then Vincent finally spoke. Michael was supposed to become the head of the family. Dominic looked surprised. Emma listened carefully. But you did? Vincent nodded. When my father died, Michael was 29. He had the experience. He had the connections. He had the ambition. Then why did you become boss? Vincent's expression hardened. Because Michael betrayed us. The room grew colder. He sold information to a rival family. People died because of him. I found the evidence myself. What happened to him? Vincent looked down. The night I confronted him, he disappeared. And everyone believed he was dead? Yes. Emma studied his face. You never found a body. Vincent didn't respond. That was the answer. Before anyone could continue, Dominic's radio suddenly came alive. Boss. The voice sounded nervous. Vincent grabbed the radio. Speak. We opened the iron box. And? A pause. Then, you need to see this. 5 minutes later, everyone stood inside the old wine cellar. The collapsed shelf had revealed a hidden section behind the stone wall, a place that wasn't on any blueprint. The iron box sat open on a wooden table. Inside were 3 things: a photograph, an old key, and a handwritten letter. Vincent picked up the photograph first. His fingers tightened. Emma stepped closer. The picture showed 3 people standing outside the Moretti estate. A younger Vincent, his brother Michael, and Isabella, Vincent's dead wife. But that wasn't what shocked him. It was the date written on the back, because the photo had been taken 6 months after Isabella's supposed death. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Dominic looked at Vincent. Boss? Vincent slowly unfolded the letter. The handwriting was unmistakable. Michael Moretti. The first sentence was enough to change everything. Vincent, if you are reading this, then they failed to keep the truth buried. Vincent continued reading. His face became colder with every word. Then he stopped. Emma saw his hands shaking. What does it say? Vincent looked at her. For the first time since she arrived at the mansion, the most feared man in New York looked completely powerless. He handed her the letter. Emma read the final lines. Your daughter was never the target. She was the witness. The person who destroyed our family is still living inside this house. A sudden sound echoed from upstairs. A door closing. Everyone looked toward the ceiling. Dominic immediately reached for his weapon. Vincent folded the letter. Nobody moves. But then Lucia's voice came through Dominic's radio. Soft. Terrified. Emma? Everyone froze. The radio wasn't connected to Lucia's room. Emma slowly picked it up. Lucia? The little girl's voice trembled. She's here. Emma felt her heart drop. Who is? A pause. Then Lucia whispered. The lady. She says, Daddy chose the wrong person to trust. The radio went silent. Vincent moved before anyone else could react. He ran. Not toward the basement. Not toward the security room. Straight toward his daughter's bedroom. The sound of his footsteps echoed through the marble hallway as Dominic and the guards followed behind him. Emma was already there. She had reached Lucia's room seconds before Vincent. The door was open. The lights were on. And Lucia was sitting in the middle of her bed, clutching her teddy bear tightly against her chest. But she wasn't looking at Emma. She was looking at the corner of the room, the same corner she had pointed at every night. Lucia. Vincent rushed to her side. I'm here. The little girl immediately grabbed his hand. Daddy! Her voice was shaking. She was angry. Vincent looked around the room. Who was angry? Lucia pointed toward the empty corner. The lady. Emma stepped closer. Lucia, what did she look like? The girl thought for a moment. She looked like Mommy. The words hit Vincent harder than any bullet ever had. He stepped back. No? Lucia looked confused. She said not to be scared. She said she couldn't tell Daddy because Daddy would get angry. Vincent's expression changed. What did she tell you? Lucia looked at him. She said Mommy didn't leave because of the accident. Nobody spoke. Emma felt the atmosphere shift. The entire mystery had just changed. This wasn't about someone entering the mansion. This wasn't about a hidden room. This was about something Vincent had been running from for 2 years. Lucia. Vincent lowered himself beside her. What else did she say? The child looked down. She said someone pushed Mommy's car. The room went completely silent. Dominic looked at Vincent. Boss. Vincent stood slowly. His face had become unreadable. Everyone leaves. The guards looked confused. Boss? I said everyone leaves. Within seconds, only Vincent, Emma, Dominic, and Lucia remained. Emma watched him carefully. You knew something was wrong with your wife's death. Vincent didn't answer. You hired me because you thought Lucia was seeing someone. No. His voice was quiet. I hired you because I thought my daughter knew something I didn't. Emma crossed her arms. Then tell me. Vincent walked to the window. Rain had begun falling over the city. When Isabella died, the police said her car lost control. Brake failure. That was the report. But you didn't believe it. I didn't want to. He looked at the reflection of himself in the glass. But 3 days before she died, she called me. Emma waited. What did she say? Vincent closed his eyes. She said she had discovered something about my family. What something? She never told me. Why? Because before she could explain. She died. The silence was heavy. Emma looked toward Lucia. And now your daughter is repeating things only your wife would know. Vincent nodded. That's impossible. No. Emma shook her head. What's impossible is believing there is no explanation. She looked toward the portrait again. The woman Lucia sees. Maybe she isn't someone entering the room. Vincent frowned. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe she has always been here. Dominic stepped forward. Are you suggesting someone has been hiding inside this house for 2 years? Emma looked at him. Not someone. She glanced at the portrait. Something. Vincent immediately understood. The painting. The hallway. The hidden room. The key. Everything connected back to Isabella. Without hesitation, Vincent walked toward the portrait. He removed it from the wall. Behind it was nothing. Just stone. Dominic sighed. Boss? Wait. Emma stepped closer. She touched the wall. Then she moved her fingers along the edges. Look. Everyone looked. There was a thin line in the stone. Almost invisible. A hidden door. Dominic immediately examined it. It's been sealed. Can you open it? Not without damaging the wall. Vincent looked at the old key they had found in the basement. The black iron key. The one Lucia had mentioned. Slowly, he inserted it into the hidden lock. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a soft click echoed. The wall moved. Behind it was a narrow passage. Dark. Dusty. Forgotten. A place that had not been opened for years. Vincent raised his flashlight. The 4 of them entered. The passage led to a small hidden room. Inside was a desk, a chair, several boxes, and hundreds of documents. Emma picked up the first folder. Her eyes widened. Vincent. He looked at her. What? She turned the folder around. On the cover was a name, Michael Moretti. Below it were dozens of photographs, bank records, phone logs, and one document dated just 3 days before Isabella's death. Dominic picked it up. His face changed. Boss? What? Dominic swallowed. The person your wife was investigating wasn't Michael. Vincent grabbed the paper. He read the name. And for the first time in 20 years, the mafia boss looked afraid, because the person written on the document was someone who had been standing beside him every single day. Someone he trusted more than anyone. Dominic Russo. Vincent stared at the name on the document. For several seconds, nobody moved. The hidden room beneath the mansion felt colder than it had moments before. Dominic Russo. His right hand. His closest friend. The man who had protected him for 20 years. The man who had stood beside him through every war, every betrayal, every funeral. The man Vincent had trusted with his life. No. Vincent's voice was barely above a whisper. Dominic looked at him. Boss? Say something. Dominic opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Emma carefully watched both men. She had seen fear before. She had seen patients panic after accidents. She had seen families break apart after terrible news. But this was different. This was betrayal. And betrayal from someone close always hurt deeper than an enemy's bullet. Vincent grabbed the folder from Dominic's hand. What is this? Dominic stepped closer. I don't know. You expect me to believe that? I swear on my family. Vincent slammed the folder onto the desk. Don't use your family with me. The room went silent. Emma picked up another document from the table. Vincent. He turned. This isn't just about Dominic. She opened the folder. There are records here from years ago. What records? Payments? To who? Emma looked at the pages. Private investigators. Judges. Police officers. Someone was collecting information on your entire family. Vincent looked around the hidden room. The photographs. The documents. The recordings. Someone had spent years building a secret archive beneath his own home. A place he never knew existed. Lucia suddenly spoke. Mommy came here. Everyone turned. The little girl stood at the entrance of the hidden room. Vincent immediately moved toward her. Lucia, you shouldn't be here. She didn't answer. Instead, she walked slowly toward the desk. Her small fingers touched an old wooden box. I remember this. Emma looked surprised. You've been here before? Lucia shook her head. No. She looked confused. Not me. Mommy brought me here. Vincent froze. Lucia, your mother died when you were 4. I know. Then how could she bring you here? The child looked at him. Because Mommy wasn't gone yet. The words hit him like a physical blow. Vincent looked at Emma, then at Dominic. Nobody had an answer. Lucia opened the wooden box. Inside was a small voice recorder. Old, covered in dust. Emma picked it up carefully. It still has power. Vincent pressed the button. At first, there was only static. Then, a woman's voice. A voice Vincent hadn't heard in 2 years. His wife, Isabella. Vincent? Everyone froze. If you are listening to this, something happened to me. Vincent closed his eyes. The sound of her voice was almost unbearable. I need you to understand something. I didn't leave you. I didn't betray you. And I wasn't afraid of dying. A pause. Then her voice became quieter. I was afraid of what would happen to Lucia. Vincent grabbed the table for support. Emma continued listening. The person closest to you is the person you should fear most. A crackling sound interrupted the recording. Then Isabella continued. Michael was never the enemy. Vincent opened his eyes. Everyone looked at him. Dominic? The name was whispered from the recording. Dominic knows everything. The room became completely still. Dominic stepped back. No. Vincent looked at him. The recording continued. He helped me discover the truth, because he was the only person I believed I could trust. Vincent's expression changed. The entire meaning had reversed. Emma looked at Dominic. The document, the name, the evidence. It wasn't an accusation. It was something else. The recording continued. But if this message is being heard, then Dominic probably failed. The audio became distorted. Isabella's breathing could be heard. They will try to make you believe he betrayed you. They will show you documents. They will show you evidence. But remember this. A long pause. Real betrayal doesn't leave clues. The person who wants you to find a traitor is usually the person hiding the biggest secret. Then the recording stopped. Nobody spoke. Vincent slowly turned toward Dominic. Why didn't you tell me about this? Dominic looked down. Because she asked me not to. When? The night before she died. Vincent's eyes narrowed. You knew she was in danger. Yes. And you said nothing. Dominic's voice broke. Because she made me promise. She told me if you knew the truth too early, you would kill the wrong person. Emma looked around the hidden room. So someone wanted Vincent to believe Dominic betrayed him. Dominic nodded. Yes. Why? Before anyone answered, a sound came from the passage behind them. A slow clap. Once. Twice. 3 times. Everyone turned. A figure stood in the darkness. Someone who should not have been there. Someone Vincent believed was dead. The voice came from the shadows. Because you were always easier to control when you were angry, little brother. Vincent raised his weapon. The person stepped into the light. Michael Moretti. Alive. And smiling. Michael Moretti stood beneath the weak yellow light of the hidden room. Older. Thinner. His face carried years that Vincent had never seen. But there was no mistake. It was him. The brother everyone believed was dead. The man whose disappearance had haunted the Moretti family for 15 years. Vincent's gun remained raised. His hand did not shake, but his eyes did. You're dead. Michael smiled faintly. That's what everyone needed to believe. Dominic immediately stepped between them. Michael? Michael looked at him. Still protecting him after all these years? Dominic's expression hardened. You know why I did it? Vincent's eyes moved between them. Someone better start explaining. Michael looked around the hidden room. Funny, isn't it? The truth was beneath your own house the entire time. Vincent's voice became colder. Why were you hiding? Michael looked at the photographs scattered across the desk. Because staying alive meant staying invisible. Who was after you? Michael looked at him. The same person who killed Isabella. The room went silent. Vincent's jaw tightened. Don't say her name. Michael stepped closer. You still think her death was an accident? It wasn't. I know. No. Michael shook his head. You know the story you were given. You know the police report. You know the lie everyone agreed to protect. Vincent lowered the gun slightly. What are you talking about? Michael looked at Lucia, then back at Vincent. Your wife discovered something about the Moretti family. What? Something our father started decades ago. Vincent frowned. Our father? Michael nodded. The Moretti empire wasn't built only through business. Everyone knew that. But nobody spoke about it, Michael continued. Our father created a private network. Politicians, lawyers, judges, people who owed him favors. Vincent stared at him. That isn't new. No. Michael's voice became darker. But what he created after that was... Emma listened carefully. What did he create? Michael looked toward the documents. A system. A way to control everyone around him. Even family. Dominic nodded slowly. Isabella found the records. Yes. She realized someone had been manipulating the family for years. Vincent looked at Michael. Who? Michael didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked toward the desk. He picked up one photograph. It showed Vincent, Michael, and their father. A younger family. A different time. Our father always said something. Vincent remained silent. He said the strongest man isn't the one with the most weapons. Michael placed the photograph down. It's the one who knows everyone's secrets. Emma looked at the documents. And someone continued that system. Michael nodded. After our father died. Someone took control. Vincent's expression changed. Who? Michael looked directly at him. Someone inside your organization. Someone who has access to everything. Dominic's face darkened. That doesn't narrow it down. No. Michael smiled slightly. Because that's exactly what they wanted. A sudden sound interrupted them. A phone ringing. Everyone looked around. It wasn't Vincent's. It wasn't Dominic's. It was coming from the old desk. Emma picked up the receiver. The line was connected. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then a voice came through. A calm voice. A familiar voice. Vincent. Everyone froze, because they all recognized it. The voice belonged to Isabella, Vincent's dead wife. You're listening to things you shouldn't be listening to. Vincent grabbed the phone. Who are you? A quiet laugh answered. Someone who has been watching you for a very long time. Vincent's eyes narrowed. Isabella? No. The voice became colder. But I knew she would be the one you listened to. Emma moved closer. Where are you? The person on the phone ignored her. Vincent, you need to understand something. Your brother didn't disappear because he betrayed you. Your wife didn't die because of an accident. And your daughter, a pause, was never supposed to survive. Vincent's expression changed instantly. The entire room felt frozen. Lucia held onto Emma's hand. The voice continued. The truth is closer than you think. Then came the sentence that changed everything. The person raising your daughter beside you is the same person who tried to take her away from you. The line went dead. Nobody moved. Vincent slowly lowered the phone. His eyes turned toward the mansion above them, toward the people who had served him for years, toward the people he trusted. And for the first time, Don Vincent Moretti realized something terrifying. The enemy was not outside the walls. The enemy had been invited inside. Vincent stood completely still. The phone remained in his hand long after the line had gone dead. Nobody dared speak. Not Dominic, not Michael, not even Emma, because everyone in that room understood the same thing. The person who had called them knew too much. They knew about Isabella. They knew about Michael. They knew about Lucia. And most importantly, they knew how to get inside Vincent Moretti's head. Finally, Vincent placed the phone back on the desk. Nobody leaves this room. Dominic immediately nodded. He reached for his radio, but Vincent stopped him. No radios. Dominic looked confused. Boss? No communication. Vincent looked toward the ceiling. If someone inside this house has been watching us, I don't want them knowing what we found. For the first time in 20 years, Dominic saw something in Vincent's eyes. Not anger, not revenge, fear, not for himself, For Lucia, Emma noticed it too. She walked toward the child. Lucia. The little girl looked up. Can I ask you something? Lucia nodded. When you see the woman, is she always in your room? The child shook her head. No. Where else? Lucia looked toward the hidden passage. Sometimes downstairs. Sometimes near the garden. Emma frowned. How long have you seen her? Lucia thought carefully. Since Mommy disappeared. Vincent closed his eyes. That sentence hurt more than he expected, because everyone had spent 2 years telling Lucia her mother was gone. But maybe a part of Isabella had still been trying to protect her daughter. Michael walked closer. Lucia. The little girl looked at him. Do you know me? She stared at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Your Uncle Michael. Vincent turned sharply. You've seen him before? Lucia shook her head. No. Mommy showed me. Michael went silent. Where? The old videos. What old videos? Lucia pointed toward the hidden room. Behind the wall. Everyone looked at the room again. Another secret. Another hidden piece of the past. Michael searched through the boxes quickly. After several minutes, he found a small black case hidden beneath the desk. Inside were old digital recordings. Hundreds of them. Emma looked surprised. Your wife recorded everything. Vincent picked up the first file. The date was 1 month before Isabella's death. He pressed play. Isabella appeared on the screen. She looked tired, but alive. She was sitting in the same hidden room, speaking directly to the camera. Vincent, if you're watching this, then I wasn't able to tell you myself. Her eyes were red, but her voice remained calm. I need you to listen carefully. The video continued. The person you trust most has been changing the family from the inside. Vincent looked at Dominic. Dominic looked away. But then Isabella continued. It isn't Dominic. Everyone froze. Vincent slowly looked back at the screen. It isn't Michael. Michael stared at the recording. Then who? Isabella leaned closer to the camera. The person who benefits most from our family being destroyed. The video glitched. Then a second clip appeared. Isabella was standing outside the mansion, talking to someone. A man. His face was hidden. But his voice was clear. Vincent's expression changed, because he knew that voice. Everyone in the room knew it. The man on the recording said, once Vincent loses control, everything goes to Lucia. Isabella answered, you won't get near my daughter. The man laughed. You still don't understand. Lucia isn't the obstacle. She is the key. The recording ended. Nobody spoke. Emma slowly looked at Vincent. Who was that? Vincent didn't answer. Michael did. His voice was quiet. Your family's attorney. Dominic looked shocked. The family lawyer? Michael nodded. The man who handled every contract. The man who controlled every trust. The man who knew every secret. Vincent's face darkened. Adrian Vale. A name that carried weight. For 15 years, Adrian Vale had managed the legal side of the Moretti empire. He had protected them from lawsuits, hidden their problems, moved their money, and stood beside Vincent during every crisis. A man who had never once appeared dangerous, because he didn't need to. He was never holding a gun. He was holding information. Then Dominic's phone suddenly vibrated. Everyone turned. Vincent stared at him. I told you no communication. Dominic looked down at the screen. His face changed. Boss? What? Dominic slowly showed him the message. Only 4 words. Check the nursery camera. Emma immediately looked toward Lucia. The child's face had gone pale. No. Vincent noticed. Lucia? The girl whispered. That's where she waits. Emma grabbed the security tablet from the desk. She opened the nursery camera. The screen loaded. Static. Then the image appeared. The nursery was empty, except for one thing. A person was standing beside the crib, facing the camera, not moving, not speaking, just waiting. Vincent stepped closer. The person slowly lifted their head. The image became clearer, and everyone in the room stopped breathing, because the person standing inside the nursery was wearing Isabella Moretti's wedding dress. Vincent stared at the screen. For a moment, the world around him disappeared. The hidden room, the documents, the secrets, everything faded. All he could see was the white dress on the security monitor. The same dress Isabella had worn on the night they promised each other forever. The same dress that had been placed inside a sealed box after her funeral. Impossible. That can't be real. His voice was almost a whisper. Michael stepped closer to the screen. Vincent, don't. The warning in Vincent's voice stopped him. because everyone knew what that dress meant. It wasn't just clothing. It was a memory, a wound, a reminder of the life Vincent had lost. Emma watched the footage carefully. Unlike Vincent, she wasn't looking at the dress. She was looking at the details, the way the person stood, the angle of the body, the environment. Something is wrong. Nobody answered. Emma pointed at the screen. The person isn't moving. Dominic frowned. So? People don't stand like that. She looked closer. Not naturally. Vincent turned toward her. What are you saying? I'm saying this might not be someone pretending to be your wife. Emma paused. It might be someone trying to make you believe it's her. A second later, the figure on the screen moved. Slowly, almost mechanically. The person lifted one hand and pointed toward the camera. Then toward the wall behind the crib. Lucia suddenly grabbed Emma's hand. She wants me to go there. Vincent immediately shook his head. No? Lucia looked at him. But Mommy said. Lucia. His voice softened. Your mother isn't there. The little girl stared at him. For the first time that night, she looked uncertain. Are you sure? That question hurt him. Because deep inside, Vincent wasn't sure anymore. He had spent 2 years believing he knew exactly what happened. But every secret they uncovered destroyed another piece of that belief. Michael walked toward the door. We need to check the nursery. Vincent nodded. Nobody goes alone. They moved through the mansion together. Vincent, Michael, Dominic, Emma, and 2 guards. The hallway felt different now. Every shadow seemed suspicious. Every closed door seemed to hide something. When they reached the nursery, the room was empty. No person, no dress, nothing. Only the old wooden crib in the center. Dominic checked the windows. Locked. The guards searched the closet. Clear. Michael examined the floor. No footprints. Vincent looked around. Then where did she go? Emma didn't answer. She walked slowly toward the crib. Something caught her attention. A small piece of white fabric hanging from the bottom. She reached down and pulled it free. A piece of lace. From a wedding dress. Vincent took it from her hand. His face became pale, because he recognized it. This is real. Nobody spoke. Then Lucia pointed. Under there. Everyone looked. Beneath the crib was a small wooden panel. Emma crouched down. This wasn't here before. Dominic pulled it open. Inside was a narrow compartment, a hidden space, and inside, a stack of letters, all addressed to one person, Vincent Moretti. His hands tightened as he picked up the first envelope. The handwriting was Isabella's. He opened it carefully. The letter was short, only a few sentences. Vincent, if you are reading this, then Lucia finally found the place I couldn't hide forever. I need you to understand something. I didn't leave you. I wasn't taken from you. I chose to disappear because someone was preparing to destroy our family. The person who planned everything knows you better than anyone. They know your habits, your weaknesses, your heart, and the worst part, they know you will never suspect them. Vincent stopped reading. His eyes moved to the bottom of the page. There was one final sentence. The person you call family is not the person you think. Emma looked at him. What else? Vincent turned the page. There was a second message written underneath. Smaller, almost hidden. Do not trust anyone who was in this house the night I died. Everyone froze. Because that included everyone. Michael, Dominic, the guards, the servants, even Vincent himself. Then the lights suddenly went out. Complete darkness. A scream came from the hallway. One of the guards. Everyone moved instantly. Vincent turned on his flashlight. Stay with Lucia. They rushed outside. The guard was lying on the floor, unconscious. Beside him was a small object, a phone. Dominic picked it up. The screen was still recording. A video was playing. Vincent pressed play. The camera showed the mansion entrance. 2 years earlier, the night Isabella died. Everyone watched in silence. The footage was from a hidden security camera, a camera that nobody knew existed. The video showed Isabella leaving the house. Then a second person followed her, someone wearing a dark coat. The figure stopped under the gate light. The face became visible. Vincent stopped breathing, because he recognized the person immediately. It was him. The man on the video looked exactly like Vincent Moretti. Same face, same height, same clothes. Dominic stepped back. No, Michael whispered. That's impossible. Emma looked at Vincent. Vincent. But he wasn't listening. Because on the video, the person wearing Vincent's face walked toward Isabella's car, and Isabella looked terrified. Then the screen went black. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Until Lucia whispered from behind them, "Daddy." Vincent slowly turned. "What?" The little girl was crying. "Mommy said, 'Don't believe the man who looks like you.'" Vincent stared at the frozen image on the screen. The man wearing his face. The man standing beside Isabella's car. The man everyone would believe was him. But Vincent knew one thing. That wasn't him. "I wasn't there." His voice was quiet. Nobody answered, because the evidence on the screen was impossible to ignore. Dominic looked at the timestamp. The video was recorded 2 years ago. The night Isabella died, Michael stepped closer. "Vincent, where were you that night?" Vincent didn't respond immediately. The memory came back. The phone call. The meeting. The rain. The argument. "I was at the old warehouse." Dominic looked at him. "With who?" Vincent looked away. "Alone." Michael's expression changed. "That's a problem." Vincent looked at him. "Why?" "Because someone knew that." The room became silent. Emma understood first. "Someone knew you had no witnesses." She looked at the screen. They created the perfect situation. Make Isabella disappear. Make the evidence point toward Vincent. Destroy the family from the inside. Vincent clenched his fists. "But why?" Michael looked toward the hidden documents. "Because of Lucia." Everyone looked at the child. Michael continued. "When Isabella discovered the truth, she tried to protect Lucia. Your daughter wasn't just an heir. She was the only person who could inherit everything without interference." Vincent frowned. "What everything?" Michael opened one of the old folders. "The Moretti Foundation." Emma looked confused. "The charity organization?" Michael shook his head. That was the public face. Behind it was something else. He placed the documents on the table. Accounts. Properties, investments, assets hidden for decades. Your father created a private empire worth billions. Vincent looked through the pages. "And Lucia owns it?" Michael nodded. "After Isabella discovered what our father built, she changed the inheritance structure. She moved everything into Lucia's name. Nobody could control it." Vincent finally understood. "So someone wanted custody of Lucia." "Exactly." Emma looked at the documents. "And the easiest way was to prove Vincent was dangerous." Michael nodded. "Make him look unstable. Make people believe he killed Isabella. Then take Lucia away." A terrible silence followed. Vincent looked toward his daughter. All those nights, all those fears. The person who had terrified his child wasn't trying to hurt her. They were trying to build a case, using Lucia's own fear against him. Then Dominic suddenly spoke. "Boss." Everyone looked at him. "There is something else." He walked toward the security tablet. The person in the video, he paused, wasn't alone. Vincent looked at him. "What?" Dominic opened another file. A second camera angle appeared. The gate. The driveway. The entire scene. The person wearing Vincent's face walked toward Isabella's car. But before he reached her, another person appeared, standing near the trees. Watching. Emma moved closer. "Who is that?" Dominic zoomed in. The image became clearer. A man, older, wearing a black coat. Vincent stared. Because he recognized him too. His father, Carlo Moretti, dead for 20 years. Michael's face changed. "No," Vincent whispered. "That's impossible." Michael stepped back. "Our father is dead." Emma looked at the screen. "Then who is he?" Nobody answered, until Lucia quietly spoke. "The man in the picture." Everyone turned. Lucia pointed toward the old photograph from the hidden room. The one of Vincent, Michael, and their father. "Mommy said he wasn't dead." Vincent knelt beside her. "Lucia?" "What did Mommy tell you?" The girl looked at him. "She said Grandpa never left." A cold silence filled the room. Michael walked toward the old documents. His hands moved quickly through the files. Then he stopped. His face changed. "What?" Vincent demanded. Michael pulled out a document. A birth record. Not Vincent's. Not Michael's. Someone else's. Emma read the name. Her eyes widened. Adrian Vale. Vincent stared. "Your lawyer?" Michael nodded slowly. "No." He looked at Vincent. "Not just our lawyer. He was our father's son." Nobody moved. The truth landed like a weapon. Adrian Vale wasn't an outsider. He wasn't someone who entered the family. He was someone who had been connected to it from the beginning. The man who knew every contract, every secret, every weakness. The perfect person to destroy the Moretti family. Vincent looked at the hidden documents. The whole time, Michael nodded. He was never trying to take the empire. He was trying to take his place in it. At that moment, every phone in the mansion rang at the same time. The sound echoed through the walls, one after another. A dozen phones, then 20. Dominic answered the closest one. A voice spoke immediately, calm, confident. Vincent. Everyone knew who it was. Adrian Vale. Vincent took the phone. You. Adrian laughed softly. I was wondering how long it would take you. You killed my wife. No. A pause. I saved your family from her mistakes. Vincent's eyes hardened. You destroyed everything. No. Adrian's voice remained calm. You did. You spent 20 years building an empire on fear. You created enemies. You pushed away everyone who loved you. And when Isabella discovered the truth, she realized the only thing keeping Lucia safe was taking her away from you. Vincent tightened his grip on the phone. Where is she? Adrian didn't answer. Instead, he said, come to the old chapel, the place where Isabella died. Vincent looked toward Michael. The old chapel, the place everyone avoided. The place where Isabella's funeral had been held. Adrian continued, come alone, or you will never know what really happened that night. The call ended. Vincent stood in silence. Then Emma stepped forward. You're not going alone. Vincent looked at her. This is my fight. Emma shook her head. No. She looked toward Lucia. It's hers too. The little girl held Vincent's hand. Daddy. He looked down. Bring mommy home. And for the first time in 2 years, Vincent Moretti allowed himself to believe. Maybe Isabella had never truly left. Vincent stood in front of the old chapel just before midnight. The place had been abandoned since Isabella's funeral. No one came here anymore. Not the servants. Not the guards. Not even Vincent himself. The small stone building sat behind the estate, surrounded by dead trees and overgrown grass. A place filled with memories he had spent 2 years trying to bury. But tonight, he had come back to uncover them. Emma stood beside him. Dominic and Michael waited several meters behind them. Vincent looked at her. I told you to stay at the mansion. Emma shook her head. And I told you I don't follow orders when a child is in danger. For a moment, Vincent almost smiled. Almost. Then the chapel door opened by itself. A light flickered inside. Someone was waiting. Vincent stepped forward. Emma followed. Inside, the chapel looked exactly as it had 2 years ago. The same wooden chairs. The same altar. The same place where he had watched Isabella's coffin disappear. But something was different. On the altar sat a small box. Vincent walked toward it. Inside was a phone. An old one. Isabella's phone. The device that everyone believed had been destroyed in the accident. Emma looked at him. Play it. Vincent pressed the power button. The screen turned on. One video file appeared. Recorded the night Isabella died. His hands tightened as he pressed play. The video began with Isabella sitting inside the chapel. Her face was frightened, but she was alive. If you're watching this, her voice shook. Then I failed. Vincent closed his eyes. Isabella continued. Vincent, I need you to hear the truth. I didn't discover a business problem. I discovered a family secret. The camera moved slightly. Someone else was in the room, but their face was hidden. Your father didn't build this empire alone. He had help. Someone who was never supposed to exist. Vincent looked at Michael. Both brothers listened carefully. Adrian Vale is not just Carlo Moretti's son. He is the reason your father died. Silence. Emma looked shocked. The video continued. 20 years ago, Carlo discovered Adrian had been manipulating company accounts. He tried to remove him, but Adrian acted first. He made everyone believe Carlo died naturally. Vincent felt his stomach tighten. His father's death had always been considered suspicious, but nobody had ever found proof. Isabella continued. Adrian spent 20 years becoming necessary. Not powerful. Necessary. Because people can fight power, but nobody fights the person they believe they need. The screen shook. Isabella looked behind the camera. Someone had entered. A man's voice spoke. Adrian, you're making this harder than it needs to be. Vincent's face changed. This was the first time he heard Adrian's voice from that night. Isabella answered. You killed Carlo. You destroyed Michael. And now you want Lucia. Adrian laughed. Lucia is the future. No. Isabella's voice became cold. Lucia is the only thing you can't control. A loud noise followed. The video shook. Then Isabella whispered, if Vincent finds this, tell him one thing. Tell him I never stopped loving him." The screen went black. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then another sound came from inside the chapel. A slow clap. Adrian Vale stepped out from behind the altar. Older than in the videos, but exactly the same calm expression. The expression of a man who had never feared consequences. Beautiful, wasn't it? Vincent raised his weapon. "You." Adrian smiled. "After all these years, you still point a gun before asking questions. You always were your father's son." Michael stepped forward. "You killed him." Adrian looked at him. "Your father was weak. He built an empire but couldn't control his own family. He trusted emotions, love, loyalty." Adrian shook his head. "Those things are weaknesses." Emma looked disgusted. "You destroyed a family for money." Adrian smiled. "No, I destroyed a family because they forgot who they were." Vincent's eyes narrowed. "Where is Lucia?" Adrian's smile disappeared. Always the same question. Always the daughter. Never the empire. Vincent took a step forward. "If you touch her," Adrian interrupted, "you still don't understand. I never wanted to hurt Lucia. I wanted to protect her." Everyone stared. Adrian continued. "From you." Vincent's expression hardened. "You expect me to believe that?" "I expect you to remember." Adrian reached into his coat. He pulled out a small envelope and threw it onto the floor. Vincent picked it up. Inside was a document. A psychological evaluation. His name was written at the top. The date was 2 years earlier, before Isabella died. Emma read it. Her face changed. "Vincent." "What?" She looked at him. "This is a report about you." Vincent took it. The words made his blood run cold. Subject demonstrates increasing paranoia, aggression, and inability to maintain emotional stability. Signed by Dr. Adrian Vale. Vincent looked up. "You forged this." Adrian smiled. "No. I documented what everyone already knew." The chapel became silent, because for the first time, Vincent wondered if Adrian's plan had been so successful because parts of it were true. Not the murder, not the betrayal, but the fear, the anger, the walls he had built around himself. Adrian stepped closer. "Isabella wanted to leave with Lucia. She believed you were becoming dangerous." Vincent's face tightened. "She was wrong." Adrian looked at him. "Was she?" The question stayed in the air. Then Dominic's voice came through the radio. "Boss." Everyone turned. Dominic sounded alarmed. Something happened at the mansion. Vincent grabbed the radio. "What?" A pause. Then, "Lucia is gone." Vincent froze. Adrian smiled and whispered, "Now you finally understand. The game was never about proving you were guilty. It was about making you leave her unprotected." The chapel doors closed behind them, and Vincent Moretti realized he had walked exactly where Adrian wanted him to. Vincent stared at Adrian. For the first time in years, rage wasn't the strongest emotion inside him. It was regret. Because Adrian was right about one thing. Vincent had left. He had spent all his energy chasing the truth. Chasing revenge. Chasing answers about Isabella. And while he was doing that, someone had taken Lucia, his daughter, the only person left in the world who still saw him as something other than a monster. Dominic's voice came through the radio again. "Boss, listen to me. We're searching the property. No vehicles have left. No gates were opened." Vincent looked at Adrian. "Where is she?" Adrian remained silent. Michael stepped forward. "You're still playing games?" Adrian smiled. "That's the difference between you and me, Michael. You always thought power came from controlling people. It doesn't. It comes from knowing what people will do before they do it." Emma looked around the chapel, then at Adrian. "You planned this." Adrian nodded. "Of course. You knew Vincent would find the recordings. You knew Michael would return. You knew Dominic would reveal the truth. Everything happened exactly as I expected." Vincent raised his weapon. "Then you know what happens next." Adrian looked at the gun. "You kill me. Then you become exactly what everyone fears." Vincent's finger tightened. Emma stepped between them. "Don't." Vincent looked at her. "Move." "No." Her voice was calm. "If you kill him now, Lucia loses too." That stopped him. Because Emma understood something. Adrian wanted Vincent angry. He wanted Vincent violent. He wanted the world to see the monster he had spent years creating. Adrian smiled. "She really does understand you." Vincent lowered the gun slightly. "Where is my daughter?" Adrian looked toward the chapel door. "Go back to the mansion. Check Isabella's bedroom." Vincent frowned. "Why?" Because the answer was there the entire time. Then Adrian turned away. You were just too busy looking for enemies. Michael grabbed him. You think we're letting you walk away? Adrian looked at him. You still don't understand. You don't have to let me go. A small smile appeared. Because you already did. Suddenly, the chapel lights turned off. A loud alarm sounded outside. Dominic's voice exploded through the radio. Boss, the mansion security system has been completely disabled. Vincent looked toward the door. When the emergency lights came back on, Adrian was gone. Not escaped. Gone. As if he had disappeared into the building itself. Michael searched the room. Impossible. Emma looked at the walls. No. She walked toward the altar. There is another passage. Vincent looked at her. How do you know? She pointed at the floor. Because he wanted us to find him here. She touched the stone. Just like before. Within minutes, Dominic arrived with guards. The search began. But Vincent didn't wait. He returned to the mansion. Every step felt heavier. Every room reminded him of Lucia. Her drawings, her toys, her small footsteps running through the hallway. When he reached Isabella's old bedroom, he stopped. The door was slightly open. He had not entered this room since the funeral. Emma stood beside him. Are you ready? No. He wasn't. But he opened the door anyway. The room smelled like memories. Everything was exactly the same. The books on the shelf. The photographs. The perfume bottle on the table. A life frozen in time. Then Vincent noticed something. The portrait above the bed. A younger Isabella smiling. But beneath it, a small piece of paper. He removed it. Only one sentence was written. The truth is hidden where our daughter was born. Emma looked confused. Where Lucia was born? Vincent slowly looked up. No. His face changed. Not the hospital. Michael entered the room. What is it? Vincent looked toward the mansion's east wing. The old nursery. Everyone went silent. Because nobody used that room anymore. Lucia's first bedroom. The place Isabella had decorated herself. The place closed after her death. They rushed there. The door was locked. But not with a normal lock. A fingerprint scanner had been installed. Dominic frowned. Who installed this? Vincent looked at the device. Then remembered. Isabella. Emma looked at him. She planned this. Vincent placed his hand on the scanner. Nothing happened. Then Lucia's name appeared on the screen. Authorized user required. Vincent stepped back. The system wasn't asking for him. It was asking for his daughter. Michael looked around. Then Adrian took Lucia, because he needed her to open it. Vincent's face turned cold. He didn't take her to hurt her. He took her to unlock what Isabella hid. At that exact moment, Dominic's phone received a message. Everyone turned. A video file. From an unknown number. Vincent opened it. The screen showed Lucia, sitting safely in a room. No injuries, no fear. Beside her stood Adrian. But he wasn't threatening her. He was showing her a small wooden box. Lucia, his voice was surprisingly gentle. Your mother wanted you to have this. The little girl looked at him. You're the bad man. Adrian smiled sadly. Maybe. Maybe I am. But your mother knew the truth. He opened the box. Inside was a key. A different key. Then Adrian looked directly into the camera. Vincent. This is your final choice. Come alone. Bring no weapons. And you will learn why Isabella really disappeared. The video ended. Vincent looked at everyone. Michael shook his head. It's a trap. Dominic agreed. Definitely. Emma looked at Vincent. But it's also the only way to find Lucia. Vincent said nothing. Then he removed his weapon. Placed it on the table and walked toward the door. Michael grabbed his arm. You can't go alone. Vincent looked at him. For the first time, there was no anger between the brothers. Only understanding. I spent 2 years trying to find out who took Isabella from me. He looked toward Lucia's room. I'm not losing my daughter because I was too afraid to trust someone. Emma stepped forward. Then don't go as the mafia boss. Vincent looked at her. Go as Lucia's father. For a moment, Vincent Moretti wasn't the most feared man in New York. He was just a father trying to bring his little girl home. Vincent arrived at the old nursery alone. No guards, no weapon, no backup. Exactly as Adrian requested. The mansion behind him was silent. Too silent. The kind of silence that made even experienced soldiers feel uneasy. The old nursery door opened before he touched it. Someone had been waiting. Vincent stepped inside. The room looked untouched. The same wooden toys. The same small bed. The same faded wallpaper Isabella had chosen before Lucia was born. For a moment, Vincent forgot why he was there. He remembered Isabella standing in this room, laughing, holding their newborn daughter, promising him that their family would be different from the one they came from. Then a voice pulled him back. "You finally came." Adrian stood near the window. Lucia sat beside him, safe, calm, holding the wooden box. Vincent immediately looked at his daughter. Lucia, the little girl, stood. "Daddy." She ran toward him. Adrian didn't stop her. Vincent hugged her tightly. For several seconds, he didn't care about anything else. Not revenge. Not secrets. Not Adrian. Only that she was alive. "You scared me," Lucia whispered. "I'm sorry." "No." Vincent held her closer. "You did nothing wrong." Adrian watched silently. Then he spoke. "You see?" Vincent turned. "You don't look like a monster when you're with her." The words annoyed him, but he didn't react. "Why did you bring her here?" Adrian looked around the room. "Because this is where everything began." He walked toward the old cabinet. "Your wife knew this day would come." Vincent's expression changed. "You knew Isabella was alive?" "No." Adrian looked down. "I knew she planned for the possibility that she wouldn't be." He opened the cabinet. Inside was another hidden compartment. Another secret. Another thing Vincent never knew existed. He removed a small envelope. "This was for you." Vincent didn't move. "Why didn't you give it to me?" Adrian looked at him. "Because I needed to know if you would find the truth, or destroy everyone trying to find it." Vincent stared at him. "You manipulated everything." "Yes." Adrian didn't deny it. "But not for the reason you think." He handed Vincent the envelope. The handwriting was Isabella's. Vincent opened it. His hands trembled. "My Vincent, if you are reading this, then our daughter is safe. That is the only thing that matters. I know you will be angry. I know you will want someone to blame. But please listen. The greatest danger to Lucia was never a person. It was the life we created around her. A life where everyone solved problems with fear, where loyalty was tested through violence, where love was always mixed with control. I loved you. I still love the man I met before the crown of the Moretti family changed you. But I was afraid you were becoming someone Lucia would one day fear." Vincent stopped reading. The words hurt because part of him knew they were true. He looked at Lucia. She wasn't afraid of him. But there had been moments, times when she became quiet when he raised his voice, times when she hid behind Emma when arguments happened. He continued, "I didn't leave because I stopped loving you. I left because I wanted you to have a chance to become the father our daughter needed." The letter ended with one sentence. "The strongest man is not the one everyone fears. It is the one his child feels safe running toward." Vincent lowered the paper. Silence filled the room. Adrian looked away. For the first time, his confidence disappeared. "You see why I couldn't give you that letter?" Vincent looked at him. "No." Adrian frowned. "No? You couldn't give me the letter because you wanted control." Vincent stepped closer. "You used Isabella's message to justify what you did. You hurt people. You destroyed lives." Adrian's face hardened. "I protected her." "No." Vincent shook his head. "You protected yourself." The room became silent. Adrian stared at him. Then he laughed softly. "You sound like Isabella." Vincent looked at him. Maybe she was right about both of us. That sentence surprised Adrian. Because Vincent wasn't angry. He wasn't threatening. He wasn't acting like the man Adrian expected. Adrian slowly sat down. "Do you know why your father never trusted love?" Vincent didn't answer. "Because he believed love made people weak." Adrian looked at Lucia. But he was wrong. Love is the only thing that makes people willing to change. A strange sadness appeared in his eyes. "My mistake was thinking I could control that." Then suddenly, a gunshot echoed outside. Everyone froze. Adrian's expression changed. Not fear. Shock. That wasn't supposed to happen. Vincent immediately grabbed Lucia and moved behind the wall. "What is happening?" Adrian looked toward the window. The last person I expected just made their move. Another gunshot. Then another. Dominic's voice came through Vincent's hidden earpiece. "Boss." Vincent turned. He didn't have a radio, but Dominic had installed a backup tracker before he left. "Someone is attacking the mansion." Michael's voice followed. "Vincent, it's not Adrian." A pause. Then, "It's Isabella's old security code." Vincent looked at Adrian. Adrian looked equally confused. Someone else was controlling the system. Someone who had been waiting. Someone who knew every secret. Adrian whispered. "No." Vincent stared. "Who?" Adrian slowly turned toward the old nursery wall. The hidden door behind the cabinet began to open. A figure stepped out, and the voice that followed made Vincent's blood run cold. "Hello, Vincent." The person smiled. "I think it's time you met the real person who destroyed your family." The lights came on, and everyone saw the face. It was someone Vincent had trusted for years, someone who had never been suspected, someone who had been helping him search for the truth the entire time. Emma Carter. Emma Carter stood in the doorway. For several seconds, nobody moved. Not Vincent, not Adrian, not even Lucia. The woman who had spent weeks protecting his daughter, the woman who had earned his trust, the woman who had uncovered every hidden secret in his family, was now standing beside the very secrets she had helped reveal. Vincent slowly looked at her. "Emma." His voice was quiet. But there was something different in it. Not anger, disappointment. "Explain." Emma didn't move. She looked at Lucia first, then at Vincent. "I knew this moment would come." Adrian laughed softly. "So you finally admit it." Vincent turned toward him. "You knew?" Adrian looked at Emma. "Of course I knew." She wasn't just a nurse. She was never just a nanny. Emma closed her eyes. "Adrian, don't." But Adrian continued. Tell him why you really came here." Vincent's expression hardened. "Why?" Emma looked at him. And for the first time since she entered the Moretti mansion, she looked afraid. "My real name isn't Emma Carter." Silence. "My name is Elena Russo." Dominic's voice came through the hidden communication line. "What?" Everyone turned. Because Dominic had heard. Elena Russo. The name meant something. Vincent looked toward the radio. "Russo?" Emma nodded slowly. "My father was Marco Russo." Dominic went pale. Vincent stared. The Russo family. A name from the past. A family that disappeared after a war with the Morettis 15 years earlier. "You were supposed to be dead." Emma looked at him. "My father was." Her voice became softer. "But I wasn't." Adrian smiled. Now he understands. Vincent looked at Emma. "Why did you come here?" She looked at Lucia. "Because of her. Not because of revenge. Not because of money. Because my father died protecting Isabella." The room went silent. Vincent frowned. "What?" Emma continued. 15 years ago, my father worked for Carlo Moretti. Your father. He discovered Adrian was manipulating the family. He tried to warn Carlo, but Adrian found out. He destroyed my family." Michael looked at Adrian. "So Marco Russo was another victim." Emma nodded. "Yes. Isabella found out years later. She discovered my father's records. She found me." Vincent's eyes narrowed. "When?" 6 months before she died." The truth began falling into place. Emma looked down. Isabella knew she couldn't trust anyone. Not the police. Not the lawyers. Not even all of her own guards. So she contacted me. Vincent looked confused. "She sent you here?" Emma nodded. She knew Lucia needed someone. Someone who wasn't afraid of the Moretti name. Someone who would protect her even if it meant standing against you. Those words hurt, because Vincent knew Isabella had chosen carefully. Emma had never feared him, not once, even when everyone else did. Adrian stepped forward. Beautiful story. Everyone looked at him, but she left out one thing. Emma's face changed. "What?" Adrian smiled. "She didn't come here only to protect Lucia. She came here to destroy the Moretti family." Vincent looked at Emma. "Is that true?" Emma didn't answer immediately, and that silence was enough. Vincent's expression changed. "Emma," she finally spoke. "At first, I wanted revenge. Nobody moved. My entire life was destroyed because of your family. I believed every Moretti was responsible." Her eyes filled with emotion. "But then I met Lucia." She looked at the little girl, and I realized she wasn't the person who hurt me. She was another child who lost everything because adults couldn't let go of their anger. Vincent watched her carefully. "So what changed?" Emma looked at him. "You." A pause. "You weren't the monster I expected. You were a broken man pretending he wasn't." The words hit harder than an insult. Because they were true. Adrian stepped closer. "This is touching, but it changes nothing." He pulled a small device from his pocket. Everyone became alert. One button. "That's all it takes." Vincent stared. "What does it do?" Adrian smiled. "The final transfer." Michael looked at the device. "No." Adrian pressed a button. The mansion's security system activated. Screens around the room turned on. Documents appeared. Bank accounts. Legal transfers. Ownership records. Lucia's inheritance. Adrian smiled. For 20 years, everyone fought for power. But nobody realized the power was never the empire. It was Lucia. Vincent moved forward. Stop this. Adrian shook his head. Why? Because you finally understand. Power destroys families. Love saves them. He looked toward Vincent. The same lesson Isabella tried to teach you. Then Adrian's expression changed. Suddenly, pain. A hand went to his chest. Everyone froze. He stumbled. What? Emma looked shocked. What happened? Adrian looked down. A small needle was stuck in his jacket. Michael stared. Someone poisoned him. Everyone turned. Toward the doorway. A figure stood there. An old woman. The Moretti family's former housekeeper. Vincent recognized her immediately. Maria. She lowered her hood. I waited 20 years for this day. Adrian fell to his knees. Because the final person who knew the truth had arrived. And she spoke the words nobody expected. Carlo Moretti had one last secret. She looked at Vincent. And it was not Adrian. It was me. Maria stepped fully into the room. The old woman who had spent decades walking silently through the Moretti mansion. The woman everyone ignored. The woman nobody considered dangerous, was now standing at the center of the biggest secret the family had ever known. Vincent stared at her. Maria? His voice was filled with disbelief. What are you saying? Maria looked at him with tired eyes. I am saying that for 20 years I allowed everyone to believe I was just a servant. Because servants are invisible. They hear everything. They see everything. And nobody ever thinks they are a threat. Adrian, still on his knees, laughed weakly. You think you won? Maria looked at him. No, I think everyone lost. Her eyes moved toward Vincent. Your father, your brother, your wife, and now your daughter. All of them were destroyed because powerful people refused to see what was right in front of them. Vincent stepped closer. Tell me the truth. Maria nodded. Your father, Carlo Moretti, didn't just have one son. Silence. He had 3 children. Everyone froze. Michael looked confused. 3? Maria nodded. Vincent, Michael, and Adrian. Vincent looked at Adrian, the man who had spent years trying to destroy his family, the man who had blamed everyone for abandoning him. Maria continued. Carlo was afraid of what people would think. He was afraid his empire would collapse if the truth came out. So he hid Adrian. He gave him money. He gave him education. But he never gave him a name. Adrian's expression changed. For the first time, the anger disappeared. Only pain remained. I was his son. Maria looked at him. Yes, but you wanted something more. You wanted everyone to suffer because Carlo didn't love you the way you wanted. Adrian looked away. Vincent remained silent. Because a terrible realization was forming. The enemy he had spent years hunting was not born evil. He was created by secrets, created by lies, created by a family that chose power over honesty. Emma watched Vincent carefully. She knew what was happening inside him. For the first time, he wasn't looking for someone to punish. He was trying to understand. Then Maria reached into her coat. She pulled out a small envelope. This is the final thing Isabella wanted you to have. Vincent slowly took it. Another letter? Maria nodded. But this one was written after she discovered everything. Vincent opened it. The handwriting immediately broke something inside him. My Vincent, if you are reading this, then you finally know the truth. I wish I could have told you myself. I wish I could have stood beside you when everything fell apart. But I knew something you didn't. You were not losing your enemies. You were losing yourself. Vincent stopped. His eyes moved across the page. You spent your whole life protecting this family. But somewhere along the way, you forgot that a family is not something you control. It is something you love. A tear formed in Lucia's eyes as she watched her father. The letter continued. I don't want Lucia to inherit an empire built on fear. I want her to inherit a father who chooses her, not a father who chooses power. Vincent lowered the letter. Emma looked away, giving him a private moment. Then Maria spoke. There is one more thing. Everyone looked at her. The night Isabella died, she wasn't alone. Vincent froze. Who was with her? Maria looked at Adrian. Adrian. Everyone turned. Adrian closed his eyes. I tried to stop her. Vincent's expression hardened. What? Adrian looked at him. I didn't kill Isabella. I followed her because I knew she was in danger. She had discovered everything. The inheritance, the documents, the truth about Carlo. I wanted to convince her to leave. But then, his voice became quieter. Someone else arrived. Emma stepped closer. Who? Adrian looked toward the window. The person who truly started this war. Maria finished the sentence. Carlo Moretti's most trusted man. Dominic's face changed. Impossible. Maria looked at him. The same man who handled security. The same man who controlled access to the mansion. The same man who erased every piece of evidence. Everyone slowly turned toward Dominic. The room became silent. Dominic looked shocked. No. Maria shook her head. Not you. Everyone stopped. Then Maria looked past him, toward the doorway. A figure stood there. Someone who had entered without making a sound. Someone who had been listening. Someone who had survived every investigation. Maria whispered, "The real traitor was never inside the family." A pause. He was the man protecting it. The figure stepped into the light. Vincent's eyes widened. Because the person standing there was the head of security who had served the Moretti family for 15 years. A man everyone trusted. A man nobody ever suspected. And he was holding Lucia's old necklace in his hand. The room went completely silent. Vincent stared at the man standing in the doorway. For 15 years, that man had been responsible for protecting the Moretti family. He knew every entrance, every exit, every security code, every weakness. His name was Victor Hale, the man who had trained Vincent's guards, the man who had walked through the mansion every night, the man who was always there, but never noticed. Vincent's voice became cold. "Victor." The older man smiled. "Don Vincent." Nobody moved. Dominic slowly reached for his weapon. But Vincent raised his hand. "Don't." His eyes never left Victor. "Let him talk." Victor looked around the room. After all these years, everyone finally wants to hear the truth. Emma looked at the necklace in his hand. "Where did you get that?" Victor looked at Lucia. The little girl had something her mother left behind. Lucia immediately stepped closer to Vincent. "Daddy." Vincent placed himself between them. "Give it back." Victor smiled, still protecting her, just like Isabella wanted. Vincent's expression changed. "You knew Isabella." Victor laughed softly. "I knew her better than you think." The words cut deeper than any threat. Michael stepped forward. "You were working with Adrian." Victor looked at him. Adrian was useful. Nothing more. Adrian, still weak on the floor, looked at him with hatred. "You used me." Victor smiled. "No. I gave you exactly what you wanted. You wanted revenge. I gave you a target." Adrian's face changed. "You lied to me." "Of course." Victor looked at him. "People like you are easy to control. Give them pain. Give them someone to blame. And they will destroy everything themselves." Vincent stared at Victor. "So all of this, the cameras, the documents, the fake evidence, it was you?" Victor nodded. "Most of it." Emma's eyes narrowed. "What about Isabella?" The room became still. Victor looked at her. "Isabella was the only person who almost ruined everything." Vincent's hand tightened. "What did you do?" Victor looked at the floor. "I warned her. She refused. I gave her another chance. She still refused. And then she made the mistake of recording everything." Vincent's eyes turned dark. "You killed her." Victor didn't answer. That was enough. The silence became heavier than a confession. Lucia covered her ears. "No?" Vincent immediately looked back at her. "Lucia, don't listen." But the damage was already done. The little girl was crying. Mommy was scared. Vincent looked at Victor. "What did you do that night?" Victor smiled. "I convinced everyone Isabella ran away. I convinced the police the accident was random. I convinced you to hate the wrong people." He stepped closer. "Do you know the best part?" Vincent didn't respond. "I didn't have to destroy you. You destroyed yourself. You became exactly what everyone feared. A violent man. A man who trusted nobody. A man who pushed away the people who loved him." Victor looked toward Lucia. "Even your daughter was afraid of you." The words hit, because they were cruel, and because part of them were true. Vincent stood there silently. Then something unexpected happened. He lowered his weapon. Victor looked surprised. "What are you doing?" Vincent looked at Lucia, then at Emma, then back at Victor. "Something you never understood." Victor frowned. "What?" Vincent answered quietly. "I'm choosing my family." Victor laughed. "You think becoming weak makes you better?" "No." Vincent shook his head. "It makes me human." For a moment, nobody moved. Then Victor reached inside his coat. Dominic shouted, "Gun!" Everything happened at once. Dominic moved. Michael grabbed Adrian away. Emma pulled Lucia behind her. But Vincent was already moving. Not like the old Vincent. Not like the man who solved every problem with violence. Like a father. He pushed Lucia out of the way. The gunshot echoed through the room. Everyone froze. Vincent fell to one knee. "Vincent!" Emma rushed toward him. Lucia screamed. "Daddy?" But Vincent wasn't hit. The bullet had only grazed his shoulder. Dominic tackled Victor to the ground. The weapon slid across the floor. Seconds later, it was over. Victor Hale was finally arrested. The last piece of the Moretti family's nightmare had ended. But Vincent didn't care about Victor. He didn't care about revenge. He only cared about the small hands holding his face. "Daddy!" Lucia was crying. Vincent forced a smile. "I'm okay. You scared me." He looked at her. "I know." A pause. "I'm sorry." The little girl looked at him. "For what?" Vincent swallowed. "For every time I made you feel unsafe. For every time I forgot that you didn't need a boss. You needed a father." Lucia hugged him. And for the first time, Vincent Moretti cried. Not because he lost. Not because he was weak. Because he finally understood what he had spent his whole life protecting. 6 months later, the Moretti mansion was different. The walls were the same. The rooms were the same. But the feeling was gone. The fear was gone. Vincent removed most of the security. The hidden rooms were sealed. The old documents were handed to authorities. The Moretti empire changed forever. Some people called it the end of the family. Vincent called it the beginning. He no longer wanted to be remembered as the most feared man in New York. He wanted Lucia to remember him as the man who came home every night. Emma stayed. Not because Isabella asked her. Not because of a promise. Because Lucia wanted her there. And because Vincent finally learned that some people weren't sent into your life to replace what you lost. They were sent to help you heal. One evening, Vincent found Lucia sitting in the garden. "Drawing." He sat beside her. "What are you drawing?" Lucia smiled. "Our family." Vincent looked at the picture. There was him, Lucia, Emma. And in the corner, a woman smiling. "Isabella." Vincent looked at the sky. "I miss you." The wind moved gently through the garden. And for the first time in years, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt peaceful. Because the man who once controlled an empire finally found something greater. A home, a family, and a reason to live. The end.